Oh my gosh. Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback 1 overall. Is that the big takeaway that we have here? I mean, I don't want to overreact. Of course, it's hard not to overreact based on what we just saw. But I think you can be very, very, and I repeat, very, not sure if you heard that last very there, excited about this 49ers offense. Makes sense why maybe they were a little slowish when they first got in Christian McCaffrey. They had to work him in, and now Kyle Shanahan has so many freaking toys. We said after the Christian McCaffrey trade that if you were a quarterback in the NFL and you got to choose whichever team you were going to go for the best, and I repeat, the best weapons you could have, it had to be the 49ers, right? Where you're rolling with CMC, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. Dear God, phenomenal game. We're going to talk about a lot what happened over the weekend. We're going to be talking about what happened in this game here. Of course, we're going to be answering some fantasy football questions, but give me 1 second to set up this live stream. If you are in here right now, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the live stream. Let's see if we can get this to 100 likes 1 minute in. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football, of course. I mean, that's only for the people watching this later on. I may keep this live stream up. We stream every single day. I've not missed a single day of live streaming in 150 days. Usually we take them down after, but I kind of want to recap this game and give you my initial feedback. And as I pull up the box score of this game, if you want to check out any of these player props this week, early on in the week, in my opinion, it's the best time to go look at props before they are adjusted with bets coming in. You can go find the link in the live chat, find the link in the description, find the link in the comment section to Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. So it's pretty much free for you to check out. Like I said, available in damn near every state. But that should be it. Let's do the Arizona Cardinals first. So Colt McCoy didn't look good at any point. I mean, I don't know if you can blame him. He's Colt McCoy. Look at Morans. Stepping in, he was questionable coming into this game. Like Colt McCoy, the backup, was questionable, dealing with something. You had James Conner going through, getting the rushing touchdown, saving his day, doesn't hit the yardage mark we needed him to. But, he was getting every single snap while it was still a football game. Now, of course, if you're looking at the snap number at the end of the contest, it's going to be a little bit skewed just because, hell, why are you going to have James Conner, who suffered from the rib injury earlier this season? Why are you going to have him out there in the fourth quarter if you have no shot to win? So don't pay too much attention to the snaps played. But DeAndre Hopkins looked great, 9 receptions, 91 receiving yards in an offense that couldn't get anything going. Greg Dortch, don't pick him up. I understand, yes, you had Rondale Moore going down with the injury, but you should get Hollywood Brown back next week. So if you get Hollywood Brown back next week, then all of a sudden you'll be in a very good spot for, in my opinion, Kyler Murray after the bye, whenever we have Hollywood and DeAndre Hopkins both finally good to go in this offense. But let's go over to the 49ers side of this. We'll recap this and we'll get into the questions. And real quick, we are 1 like away from hitting 100 likes in the live stream. Please go down there, hit that like button if you haven't already. Going over, I ranked Brandon Ayuk very low this week. For full transparency, I was low on Brandon Ayuk this week in the rankings because I said you had Christian McCaffrey, you had Deebo Samuel, you have George Kittle. I don't see how all these guys are going to get there. Brandon Ayuk really doesn't have the target volume. He has 2 receptions for 20 receiving yards, so it is what it is. The man had 2 touchdowns. The man had 2 touchdowns. George Kittle, 4 receptions, 84 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. George Kittle, my most drafted tight end in best ball. You'll love to see it. Deebo Samuel has himself a day. He gets a rushing touchdown. Christian McCaffrey has himself a day as a pass catcher with 7 receptions, 67 receiving yards. I want to be very, very excited about the 49ers offense rest of season. However, from a fantasy football perspective, I feel like maybe we can revisit selling high on a few of these names. Now, of course, they are very talented options. And of course, it's very exciting to see what we just had when they go through and drop 5 touchdowns. But it's not like the 49ers are going to be scoring 5 touchdowns every single week. I think we see some regression. There's still so many names here. Like we said, CMC, Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk. So maybe if we can take Ayuk, who we've been talking about as a sell-high candidate, and go through and move him. I know people hate us doing this, and we look like an idiot right now for doing it. We've been saying it for a few weeks, and I know I look stupid. But the man's not going to have every one of his receptions rest of season turn into a touchdown. He's good, but he's not that good. But I think that should be it for the recap. Let's go through and let's dive into some of these questions. Simo says, traded Terry and Olave for Dameon Pierce, Mike Williams, and Mike Evans. Hell, I'm fine with it. I mean, if we're looking at this, give me Dameon Pierce over Terry McLaurin. And you know, I'm not a Dameon Pierce fanboy. At the same time, I mean, Evans and Olave, same tier. We're getting Mike Williams for free. I think that's a good move. Okay. Now, Kevin says, trade Swift, Jamal, and Josh Allen for Aaron Jones, CeeDee Lamb, and Deshaun Watson. 8-3, clinch the playoffs. I have no idea what to expect going forward with this Detroit Lions offense. Full transparency, I mean, I am just clueless when it comes to this spot. Jamal Williams coming off a 3-touchdown performance. DeAndre Swift, I mean, we've been saying you can't start him, but he still has upside rest of season. Clearly, I'm looking like an idiot for that statement, because who the hell knows when you get Swift back? Who knows if he has upside rest of season? Going from Allen to Deshaun Watson, we know that's a clear downgrade. Going from DeAndre Swift to CeeDee Lamb, we know that's a clear upgrade. Going from going from Waddle to CeeDee Lamb, that's a downgrade. Going from the combo of Swift and Jamal for Aaron Jones, no, don't do this. I'm excited about Deshaun Watson, but why would we make this trade? You're downgrading at wide receiver. Trading Swift and Jamal Williams for Aaron Jones, does that accomplish much? And we're just going to downgrade from Josh Allen to Deshaun Watson for whatever reason? No. Do not do that. Okay. Now, Hola Brown says we have Jefferson, Hopkins, Diggs, Amari, Saquon, Hunt, Dobbins, Drake, Michael Carter. We got offered Stephon Diggs for Nick Chubb and Treylon Burks, or DeAndre Hopkins for Dalvin, Jameson, and Alexander Madison. We're 9-2. Okay, 9-2 roster. We're looking at a team that's very top heavy, but I mean, really, we don't need too much depth. We're thinking fantasy football playoffs here. So if we had to trade away one of Stephon Diggs or DeAndre Hopkins, I would rather have Diggs over Hopkins rest of season. Dalvin versus Chubb, give me Chubb. I would say because we are getting Hollywood Brown back, I would be fine making the Hopkins trade if we wanted to go get the Minnesota Vikings backfield and Jameson Williams. But what I would also look to do is I would try to wait just a little bit. Try to wait until at least tomorrow or the next day to see if we have an injury update on Rondale Moore. Because if Rondale Moore is now down for a very long time, if Rondale Moore is going to miss a significant amount of time, joining maybe Zach Ertz on the IR, then maybe we want to keep Hopkins. Now, Daniel says, do I trade Kittle and Sutton for Mark Andrews? If Sutton is not in your starting lineup, I'd do it. I know it looks crazy after the week we just had from Kittle, and Andrews not necessarily looking like a bona fide number one overall tight end. But yeah, if Sutton's on your bench, I'm fine with it because Judy will be back long term. Dylan says 6-5, need a win this week. Running backs are Henry, Walker, Najee, and Hunt. Wide receivers are Terry, Garrett Wilson, Paris Campbell, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Tight ends Kelsey. Quarterback is Allen. Do I ride or trade? I mean, I think you're in a good spot, my friend. You get Kenneth Walker back from the bye. Derrick Henry is the best fantasy football playoff schedule you're going to find. I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to upgrade at wide receiver, but I mean, are we going to get fair value for Najee Harris? If you could go through and find a league mate that realizes that with the Jaylen Warren injury, that Najee Harris is a true workhorse level running back, and go through and trade away Najee in a package deal with someone like Paris Campbell and go get a wide receiver too that you feel comfortable with. Maybe go get an Amon-Ra St. Brown. If the team is desperately looking for that RB, then yes, we will. I just have a hard time believing that we're going to get fair value on Najee at this moment. I mean, you have Jalen Warren going down. The man's a 3-down running back, but obviously he's been so bad, I don't know if anybody's going to pay up for him. Now, Dominique says, trade Elijah Mitchell and Treylon Burks for Jamison Williams and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Pretty set at receiver and running back, but I like the upside there. I would say Treylon Burks has more upside than Jamison Williams. Like, you have to think about it. Jamison Williams coming back off the injury. If we're looking at, the two respective offenses, Jamison Williams playing in an offense that has Amon-Ra St. Brown, that has DJ Chark, whereas Treylon Burks is going up against what? Robert Woods, who's done nothing this year. He's going up against Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. So I would actually rather have Burks over Jamison. And Elijah Mitchell versus Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be up to your roster. I mean, yes, Donovan Peoples-Jones is exciting with Watson possibly coming back in. But I think we can wait a second. And real quick, we are 1 like away from hitting 200 likes on the live stream. Go down there, drop a like on the stream, help us get to 200. And if you are not going to drop a like on the stream for me, drop a like on the stream for the prettiest girl in the world, right? Can you tell them? Can you tell them for us? Tell them. They're over there. They're over there. Say, drop a like on the live stream. Do it. Drop that like. Drop that like. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. So I'm pretty sure we should be at 1,000 likes after that one. We have pretty good spokeswoman up there. Now, John says, Rondale Moore, and then a little angry emoji. I'm sorry. If you needed like 2 points from Rondale Moore tonight to win, and you were going through and taking that win to the bank, and that's what we got, I'm pretty sorry, my friend. Now, Bones says, trade Jamar for James Conner and T. Higgins. We already have Adams and Tyreek. We also have CMC and no running back 2 besides Isaiah Pacheco. It is very much a fair price point. I probably wouldn't, though. I would probably assume that we can continue to work the waiver wire. We can continue to find players to go ahead and just plug and play at RB2, how you just found Isaiah Pacheco for free. Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, and Tyreek Hill all in the same starting lineup would be unbeatable, in my opinion, for the fantasy football playoffs. Especially if you have CMC at 1. No, I'm not going to trade a team like this for an additional depth piece. I think we keep the bona fide stud. Now, Nick says 2 trade offers in a 12-team Dynasty, 2-quarterback league. First offer, trade Swift and Williams for Higgins. I'm probably not. Second offer is trade Swift, Lance, and a second for Taylor. That one I would be okay with if you are a contending team and getting Jonathan Taylor won you the league. From a value proposition this offseason, I think it'll be kind of a neutral deal, a fair deal. But if the Jonathan Taylor points this year will win you the league, then yeah, you probably got to go ahead and take it. You probably have to. I don't love the T. Higgins trade, though. Even if I love Higgins, but Swift still has upside in Dynasty, at least in my opinion. James says, Olave, Jeff Wilson, Kirk, or Godwin. We need one to jam in the flex. If you're looking at my wide receiver rankings this week, we are going to have these guys, pretty damn close together. Let me pull this up. We have Christian Kirk at 12. Whereas, we have Chris Olave at 15, Godwin at 16. Jeff Wilson Jr., though, this is what I'm thinking about, is going up against the Houston Texans, where I believe the Miami Dolphins are 14-point favorites. The Miami Dolphins are 14-point favorites against Houston Texans. You probably should be looking to start Jeff Wilson Jr. if possible. Probably should. Now, James says, Dylan says, going back to my previous message, I got an offer for Kenneth Walker for Hollywood, Keenan, and Sanders. Do we take it or no? Okay, so going back to this team here. No, not with this team. I know you need wide receivers. I would say instead of trading away Kenneth Walker, this is the deal we are looking for Najee Harris. I know that maybe a week ago we wouldn't have been able to get this price point of Najee Harris. It wouldn't have been close to this. But now that you are in a position where you have no Jalen Warren, I think you should be able to charge this price for Najee. Now, Alejandro says, PPR, we got Tua and Kyler. Running back, we have Henry, CMC, Connor, White. Wide receiver, we have Debo, Waddle, Boyd, Watson, Terry, Keenan, Andrews. Any upgrades to make? Thinking of keeping Debo now. Everybody's going to want Debo. Why, I would say sell high. But anyway, if we were really going to do something, I think Christian Watson is going to be a clear sell high candidate. Christian Watson was a must-start wide receiver for us this past week. I mean, Christian Watson is someone that I have in a ton of best ball formats as well. So I'm really hoping that Christian Watson comes through and continues to crush it. But if we're going to be realistic with ourselves, it's probably not going to be likely that Christian Watson continues this level of dominance. Like, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we get to say, okay, well, with Watson, yeah, he's phenomenal. But Allen Lazard had 11 targets this past week. Christian Watson only had 6. Sounds like Romeo Doubs is going to be coming back in here as well. So if we're getting Doubs back in, Christian Watson was still behind Allen Lazard in the team's pecking order for targets. I don't know. I think we probably should be selling high, even if I really hope he crushes. Now, Steve says, sell Debo and CPAT for CeeDee Lamb. I would sell Debo Samuel and Cordell Patterson for CeeDee Lamb. Debo Samuel, phenomenal, but there are just so many players in this offense. Jessica coming out, thank you, says, full BBR looking like we're a lock for the playoffs. Team is Hurts, Fields, Debo, Amon-Ra, McLaurin, Watson, Boyd, JT, Walker, Patterson, Foreman, Hunt, Waller. Any trade targets / moves going forward? Thank you. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'd make the argument every time you have a quarterback like Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts that you should probably be selling the second guy. So I wish we could have gone through and sold Justin Fields and started Jalen Hurts rest of season. Like, if we could have packaged together, say, Justin Fields and Christian Watson coming into the week and gone out there and got Jamar Chase, I think that could have been very exciting. I know it sounds crazy, but people have been losing their minds with Justin Fields. Coming into the week, we had a lot of people in the chat telling us that Justin Fields was the quarterback 1 in fantasy. So I think that's not out of the range of outcomes to at least ask for. Now, obviously, it's going to be significantly more difficult to get that price point when it comes to Justin Fields with the shoulder injury. I would try, if we can, to sell Fields and Christian Watson, or someone else that we've been calling a sell-high name for quite some time, in Deontay Foreman. I mean, with Deontay Foreman, we said it over and over again. He's a running back that doesn't catch the ball, playing in the league's worst offense. Doesn't matter if he had 31 carries 2 weeks ago. It's going to be super difficult to ever rely on him. I mean, you can be a running back that doesn't catch the ball if you're playing in an offense like the Kansas City Chiefs, where there'll be touchdown upside. But if you're not going to catch the ball and you're in a bad offense where there's no touchdown upside, where are the high value touches coming from? Now, Deeb says, hey, man, we're 8-3 in a PBR 3 wide receiver league. We have Barkley, Jamal, Sanders, Swift, DK. I like how we list Swift there last. I mean, you probably should. DK, Sutton, Gabe, Palmer, Burks, and Paris Campbell. Do we package Sanders and then the Detroit running backs for a wide receiver or a wide receiver upgrade? Feeling tough right now. I mean, yeah, at this point, I would say we're projecting your running backs out rest of season. Your wide receivers are going to be in a difficult spot compared to your running backs. I think Sutton's completely fine for the time being as your wide receiver 2 next to DK Metcalf, or wide receiver 3 if you want to throw Gabe Davis in front of him. I mean, they're all about the same. But once we get Jerry Jeudy back in, then Courtland Sutton's going to go right back to being a player that you're not really starting at all. I've seen a lot of people getting really excited about Joshua Palmer because Joshua Palmer was great. Obviously, he scored the touchdown on prime time, even when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were both healthy. And then Mike Williams goes down. Joshua Palmer still is heavily involved later in the game. But if we're realistic with ourselves, 8-3, we're thinking the fantasy football playoffs. Mike Williams will be playing in the fantasy football playoffs, or at least we're hoping. So if we could go through, if you could package one of those running backs with Joshua Palmer, like if you could sell Sanders and Joshua Palmer and get Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially if someone's worried about, Jameson Williams coming in, I would look to make a move like that. Now, Kilo says, thank you, Mason. Started Christian Watson this week and last week. No, thank you so much, my friend. And yeah, Christian Watson was just a must-start guy if you were looking at how that situation was shaping up in Green Bay. I will say this week, my friend, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned. Going back to what we were discussing previously, Allen Lazard had 11 targets compared to Christian Watson at 6. And now we are getting Romeo Doubs back in. If we're getting Doubs back in, I'm just worried. I'm not saying Christian Watson's going to be the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 on this team. But going back to what you were saying with the Green Bay Packers wide receiver core coming into the season, like we were saying, don't draft Allen Lazard coming into the year because one week maybe it's Allen Lazard's week. The next week maybe it's Romeo Doubs' week. The next week maybe it's Christian Watson's week. So I don't want to be paying the price point to get Allen Lazard as the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay. Maybe Christian Watson's in the same spot now. Maybe we should look to go through and sell. But Derek says, moving to 7-4 in one league in that league won by half a point 1 week before. My second league going 4-7 tonight, won by 0.25. I played the Pats defense over the Cowboys defense. Pats scored one more point than the Cowboys D. Oh my gosh, that is awesome, my man. How did the Pats defense score more than the Cowboys defense? Cowboys defense had 7 sacks on Cousins? Full transparency, I didn't really watch the Pats game. I know Zach Wilson's buns, but that is awesome, my friend. How many points? I guess maybe you got the punt return points. Hey, that's probably why. Now, Cole says, in a 10-team PPR format, 10-1 with Lamar, CMC, Etienne, Adams, Lamb, Andrews, JT. And then on the bench, we have Jamar Chase, Justin Fields, James Conner, Rondale Moore, Christian Watson, Kadarius Toney. On the IR, Deshaun Watson. Any moves? Most you trade for Travis Kelce. They want Andrews plus a star. Deadline is Thursday. If you were looking to trade for Travis Kelce, obviously you're paying the highest price you ever will. Travis Kelce coming out 3 touchdowns in a primetime game that everybody was watching, won the Chiefs that game. I'm not going to tell you not to trade for Travis Kelce because, hell, he's Travis Kelce. I mean, I don't think you can ever make a bad move by trading for him. But if you wanted to make a move, if you wanted to sell Andrews, if you have Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson on the roster, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to go through and sell. And you have Justin Fields. We have these 3 quarterbacks. If you wanted to sell Mark Andrews and Deshaun Watson and go get Kelce, let's do it. Throw in Christian Watson as well. For all the reasons that we've said on this live stream, throw in Kadarius Toney if they ask for him, but I'd be very surprised if they want that roster spot being used on Toney. Now, our next switch coming out from Lopez, always out here. Says 5-6 now, 4-game win streak. Hell yes. We have 154 points, won by 60 against the number 1 team in the league. Lineup week 12, Fields, JT, Kenneth Walker, Hopkins, Amon-Ra, Kelce, Waddle in the flex. This is going to be a phenomenal team. I mean, all you need is Justin Fields healthy. The bench, we have Dak, Connor, Najee, Lockett, Thielen, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Who to start and am I good rest of season? Any suggestions? Honestly, I don't really have any suggestions for you, my man. I think you're a great rest of season. You may end up being in a spot, though, that you have to play Dak Prescott against the Giants. I believe they're 9-point favorites right now. Just because with Justin Fields, he has the shoulder injury. It's going to be something you have to monitor this week. Sounds like he did not dislocate it, which is good news, but we'll have to monitor the Justin Fields injury. If you had to start Dak Prescott, it will be a clear downgrade. I wouldn't be surprised if they sit Justin Fields because they're not playing for anything. Like, why would they go out there and rush Justin Fields into a game? What's nice is obviously he plays on Thanksgiving, so we'll have the clarity by the time we need to make the start. So outside of making the swap at QB, I don't know. I mean, I would like to start Najee Harris if we can now that you have the Jalen Warren injury, but I can't play him over Waddle in the flex. I can't play him over Jonathan Taylor. I can't play him over Kenneth Walker. Phenomenal team, my friend. Love it. Congrats on the 4-game win streak. That is awesome. Aristotle Enjoyer says, you're the hardest working guy on YouTube. Thanks. So thank you, my friend. And I promise you, fantasy football is not work. I'm just here talking fantasy football. This is what I love to do. This is what everybody else in the chat loves to do. I don't think anybody else here in the chat's working. Says AJ Brown, 4 T against Anabari Cooper. Happy BR format in an 8-team league. Oh my gosh. 8-team league, I just want the best player, right? 8-team league, depth doesn't matter. Give me the best player. But with that being said, how far off are Amari Cooper and A.J. Brown? How far off are T. Higgins and A.J. Brown? You probably got to go Higgins and Amari. I would say if you're in a 12-team league, you'd be robbing the man. In an 8-team league, it's just a little bit tougher of a spot. Like we said, you usually just want to go with the best player in that instance. Now, Gama says, Henry says, Allen, Saquon, Gibson, Walker, Higgins, Evans, Devonta Smith, Darnell Mooney, Travis Kelce, Jimmy Garoppolo. Do I make a trade of Jimmy G, 2 of T, Mike, Lockett, Gibson, Kirk, CMC, potentially a third piece? Wait, I'm a little confused. Okay, so Jimmy G, 2 of T. Higgins, Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett. So just say Mike Williams and Tyler Lockett. For CMC, Christian Kirk, and Tony. If this is a 1-quarterback format, you do this in a heartbeat. If this is a 1-quarterback format, you do it in a heartbeat. In a super flex league, Jimmy Garoppolo is in a very good position just with how many weapons he has currently. You have to be excited about Jimmy G in a super flex league with all these weapons. 1-quarterback format, yes. I would say super flex, probably still yes, but going to be dependent on the 3rd quarterback that you have on your team. Now, Gama says, I'm being offered Hopkins and Evans for my Devontae Adams. Do I take the offer? If you're playing in a 12-team league or larger, yes, I think you have to. Now, Alberto says, should we use the number 1 waiver wire claim on Latavius Murray? What should we expect rest of season? Looks like Latavius Murray should see about 75% of the opportunities in one of the league's worst offenses rest of season. And yes, that kind of workload, I think, is worth the top waiver claim. Because how much longer can we hold on to this waiver claim? Like, we're gearing up for the fantasy football playoffs. So I think if you need a running back, yeah, go use it on Latavius Murray. I wish we could have included him in our waiver wire video. I'll talk about him in a video tomorrow because we recorded the waiver wire video before they waived Melvin Gordon. Now, Patrick says, lost by 5 points this week. We had Hopkins, but he got benched when they were getting blown out. The team is now 5-6 with only 3 weeks left to make the playoffs, but I did have Kittle in the other league. Okay. That is just so brutal. I mean, you can go back and forth on if you should go through and bench your stud level players if you get blown out like that. Like, let me ask everybody in the live chat. Do you think teams should bench their studs when they get blown out, when they have no shot to win? I'm not saying the team that's winning, should they bench their studs when they blow out the other team? I think that's pretty easily yes. You already went out there, you did what you had to do, you proved what you had. But if you're the losing team, should you go through and bench those studs? Okay. We have some people in the chat. Here's my take. Exactly what Yeski says. Yes, comma, sadly. Obviously, I mean, it kind of sucks. You just forfeit. You go out there and it's demoralizing. But I think that what we've seen in the NFL with just injury after injury, especially with these veteran guys like DeAndre Hopkins, James Conner, there's no reason to have him out there. Like, I mean, it sucks. It sucks from a viewer standpoint, sucks from a player standpoint. I mean, I doubt DeAndre Hopkins, James Conner want to stop playing. I bet you they want to be out there in the 4th quarter. I bet they're not that excited when Cliff Kingsbury says, hey guys, we're done for the day. Like, let's pack it up. We just got our crap pushed in. Oh, that sucks, my friend. I'm sorry. Okay, now Spencer says, we have Olave, Waddle, Higgins, Amari, Evans, Chubb, Walker, Stevenson. Need 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex in a 10-team league. Okay, so Waddle going up against the Houston Texans. Waddle's in your starting lineup, my friend. I mean, I think you have to go through. I think you have to jam them in. The other wide receiver is going to be a little bit closer. I have Mike Evans and Chris Olave ranked 14 and 15. I have Evans 1 spot ahead of Olave because Olave is going to be going up against the 49ers. Will be a very tough matchup. So we'll go with Mike Evans at 2, assuming Jamar Chase comes back. Because if Jamar Chase misses, actually, you know what? Even if Chase is playing, Chase is probably going to be pseudo limited. We'll go T. Higgins over him. I'm so sorry about that. Let's go T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle as our 2 wide receivers. Running back, Chubb, Walker. And then for a flex, because it's a full PPR format, we are going to go ahead. We're going to play Amari. We will go ahead and play Amari. Now, KWC says, should I trade Ramondre and Lamar? And if so, for who? So I've been saying to trade Ramondre Stevenson over the past couple of months before you had Damien Harris coming back in, potentially Damien Harris, say, getting 40% of the opportunities in New England and just severely capping the actual ceiling that we are going to end up seeing when it comes to Ramondre Stevenson. And after we just had this game where Damien Harris started, Damien Harris played the entire first drive, but at the end of the day, only saw 15 snaps, where Ramondre Stevenson dominated and had over 50 snaps. Ramondre's that guy. I don't think you're selling Ramondre with Lamar Jackson. I think you should be worried from a real life standpoint. But from a fantasy football standpoint, no, you can't sell him. Everybody's worried about him. I think that you're just kind of going to be in a position where you got to sit on your hands, hope that things change. But obviously, nothing's guaranteed here. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Foo says, in a 14-team standard league, we're in a double flex spot, 9-2. We went 0 RB. We had Lamar, Lost Cup, Brown, Amari, Kelsey, Pierce, Foreman, Pacheco, Pickens, MVS. Just remind me, I'm good to go to the SB, man. I mean, this is why you build a 0 RB team if you're playing in like a 14-team league. I mean, going through, getting the stability with those wide receivers, it sucks that we lose Cup, but being able to go in that 14-team standard league where it's a non-PPR spot and being able to get Foreman and Pacheco off the waiver wire, I would say it's probably not the best team if it's a 10-team contest, but a 14-team league where we have Kelsey obviously carrying us to the 9-2 record. That's awesome, my friend. And honestly, with Foreman, Pacheco, I will like him a lot more in a standard non-PPR than a full PPR. Now, Hersey says Tua or Jimmy G rest of season. I think you should be very, very excited about Jimmy Garoppolo based on what we just saw. But let's pump the brakes a bit here, right? Like, Tua Tagovailoa has been dominant for the entire season. You got to go Tua. Now, real quick, we are 1 like away from hitting 400 likes on this live stream. Please go down there. Drop a like on this stream if you have not done so already. It looks like half of y'all have, though, so thank you so much. Now, Sharma says, just traded Montgomery Herbert stack. So we traded David Montgomery. Khalil Herbert has no value. Plus Darius Slayton, no value. Jawan Johnson, no value. For Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt stacked in a big money dynasty league. Oh my gosh, in a dynasty format, this is even better. Also, I'm trying to trade Waddle for Amon-Ra and his second wide receiver in another league. What are your thoughts? Appreciate you, my man, as always. No, thank you so much. I will say from a dynasty perspective, I'm a little bit more willing to bet on Waddle than Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it's going to depend on where that second lines up. I would actually probably keep Jalen Waddle unless like it's a 10-team super flex league where that second round pick's going to be a top 3 selection. So like a late first and a 12-teamer. Great Chubb deal, because if you look at the Hunt contract situation, you don't know. Maybe, just maybe, Hunt's not in Cleveland next year. You get a massive bump up for Hunt. Get a massive bump up for Chubb at the same time. And obviously you're winning this season when we're able to go through and start Chubb. First trade, I love. Second trade, I'm going to be more willing to bet on Waddle than Amon-Ra St. Brown in Dynasty, even if I do like both options. Now, Jordan says pick 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex in a PPR format. We have Saquon, Kamara, Jeff Wilson, Jefferson, Keenan, Hollywood, A.J. Brown. Also, how do you feel about Kamara rest of season? Should I try selling? I would say no. He has a very good fantasy football playoff stretch, and I think a lot of people are very off of Alvin Kamara at this point. Like, I realistically don't know what you could get. If you can go get Travis Etienne, hell yeah, do it. But, I mean, in a full PPR format, what? Kamara had a horrible day rushing the ball, but still was fine as a pass catcher, just given the scoring. Now, we're going to go Saquon, Kamara, running back, even if Jeff Wilson Jr. is going up against Houston, so obviously would love to get him in. And then at receiver, we're going to go Jefferson and A.J. Brown. And then at that flex spot, I mean, Keenan, Hollywood are exciting, but because we are looking at Jeff Wilson Jr., I believe as like a 12-point favorite against Houston Texans, we got to go Jeff Wilson Jr. Now, Beefy Bitcoin, always out here. Thank you, my friend, says, I need a tight end off the waiver wire because Dallas Goedert's out. Any ideas? Okay. Let me go ahead and pull. I mean, we had Juwan Johnson in our waiver wire video, but because you're asking this, I'm assuming that Juwan Johnson's not an option for you. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull this up. Actually, I'm just trying to pull up a list of NFL teams so we can go team by team and look at. There should be an intriguing option at the tight end position. As I do this, if you have a waiver wire tight end that you are interested in, please go down there to the comment section. Please go to the live chat. Spam whatever waiver wire tight end that you like. I'm trying to think of something here. Okay, looking team by team. People have been using Greg Dulcich. I think he's going to be fine if you have no Jerry Jeudy, but I'm assuming he's already rostered in your league because he's been a waiver wire tight end for the past few. Maybe if Dawson Knox was sitting out there in your waiver wire, you could go grab Dawson Knox. Robert Tunyon's no longer interesting if we're getting Dobbs, Randall Cobb, Christian Watson, Allen Lazard all playing at the same time. Trey McBride is a long shot. Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas is a pretty good tight end. We have a lot of people in the chat saying Foster Moreau, Hayden Hurst. I don't like Hayden Hurst because you're going to get Jamar Chase back. It just pulled up the NFC East. I think Logan Thomas should be a viable pickup for you, my friend. Now, Cole Kelly says, the Kelsey owner isn't interested in one of the quarterbacks I have. What other packages would you offer? They want Andrews plus someone like ETN or one of my stars. Worth it for Kelsey when I'm 10-1. What package offer? I'm sorry, my friend. If we're rostering 3 quarterbacks here, I don't love the idea of going through and trading away Andrews as well as Travis Etienne for Travis Kelsey. And now, of course, if we could get that production from Kelsey guaranteed every week, then we will. But in reality, I think that Mark Andrews should be better rest of season when he is fully healthy. I mean, with Mark Andrews, you also have him stacked up with Lamar Jackson. So if the price point was to sell Mark Andrews and Travis Etienne away for Kelsey, I know it's a shallower format where you're 9-1. We're just thinking about the fantasy football playoffs. And for those reasons, it would be a little more interesting. I still think that you are paying a premium price tag. Now, Polly says, my roster is Chase, Kelsey, Connor, Stevenson, Mooney, Burrow, Olave, Campbell, Anderson, Dillon. Any moves you think I should make? Love the vids. Keep it up. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We had been saying up until this past week to go through and sell Ramondre Stevenson, wondering what the Damian Harris usage was going to look like. Harris came in, didn't affect Ramondre. I think you are good to go. I don't think you need to be doing that now. I think you're probably in a good spot. Now that we're getting Jamar Chase back, we have Travis Kelsey carrying us. You have James Conner fully healthy. James Conner getting used as a 3-down bell cow. I like the team. I mean, obviously, it's much better if Conner is healthy, being used as that workhorse. Slobby says trade CD for Jamal and Kittle. I'm going to ask the live chat this one because I have been so wrong with the Detroit Lions backfield, where we've said in a full PBR format to go through and sell high on Jamal Williams. Like we've clearly ranked Jamal Williams too low. We've been ranking him as a mid running back 2 over the past few weeks. So let me ask the live chat. Can everybody in the chat please let me know, what side would you rather have? CeeDee Lamb for Jamal Williams and George Kittle. I know Jamal and Kittle combined for 5 touchdowns this past week. I still kind of want to go with Lamb. I still kind of want to go with the best player. So let's see what people are saying in the chat. It looks like people in the chat are saying CeeDee Lamb as well. Yeah. Now we have some Williams and Kittle coming in. I think it is a fair trade, probably dependent on your roster. Now, Demiri coming out says 10-team full PPR. How are we feeling about White rest of season compared to guys like Chubb, Pierce, Montgomery, and James Conner? Also, Godwin or Olave, wide receiver 2. Appreciate it. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We are going to go Olave over Chris Godwin, even if I'm excited about Godwin with the passing volume in Tampa. But. With Rachaad White, yeah, I want to hype him up to an extreme measure. We've been talking about Rachaad White for quite some time. I don't think we can be comparing him to guys like Chubb. Unless there was some Leonard Fournette news that I haven't heard of. Is there something with Leonard Fournette going on that I haven't heard? I don't think Rachaad White's in the same tier as Chubb, Pierce, Montgomery, Conner. It was a full PPR format, and Leonard Fournette was going to be missing a game at that point. I think you could have Rachaad White above someone like, or in the same tier as like Dameon Pierce and David Montgomery. But I think Leonard Fournette's good to go, which it is what it is. But you don't want a player. You don't wish a player to get hurt. I do wish that Rachaad White would get a chance, though. Now, our next question coming out from All-Star Day says, made these moves before this week's games and trade deadline. Sanders for Keenan and Gus Edwards. Amari for Waller. No, wait, what? Sanders for Keenan Allen. Sanders for Keenan Allen and Gus Edwards, Amari, Waller, Boyd Foreman for Kelsey Godwin. Oh my gosh, that Kelsey deal, phenomenal. That Kelsey deal, phenomenal. Cup for a future first and second. How did we do? I think the Cup deal is going to be dependent on your roster. If it's going to be an early first in a super flex league, I like it. The Sanders trade for Keenan Allen, essentially, I would like that if it was a redraft league. I like that in a redraft. In Dynasty, not so much. In Dynasty, I think you got to go Miles Sanders. Or Keenan Allen was drafted back in 2013. Radiant says, thoughts on Keenan rest of season. I think if Keenan Allen manages to stay healthy in a full PPR format, Keenan Allen could be a high-end wide receiver too. And should we trade Devonta Smith or Tyler Lockett? Nope. I think both guys are nice holds. Okay. Now, Overwatch guy says 8-3. We have Mahomes, Henry, Chubb, Lamb, Lockett, Amari, Hollywood, Jameson, Jeff Wilson, Deshaun Watson. Trades a roll with this. By the way, love the content. Thank you. We also have Kittle asking if we should trade for Travis Kelce. Of course, if you could trade for Travis Kelce, you would trade for Travis Kelce. If it was as simple as, oh, I like Travis Kelce, let me go pay George Kittle and Jameson Williams and let's bring him in. If you could, we would. But it's so much easier said than done, where I would imagine that you couldn't trade for Travis Kelce. I think that we're probably going to be in a spot where if you wanted to make that move, you'd be giving up Lamb and Kittle to get Kelce, which you could afford it knowing you have Lockett, Lockett, Cooper, and Hollywood coming back in. I would like this stack with Mahomes. I don't know if it would make sense, though. I just feel like if you wanted to trade for Travis Kelce, seems like you should have done it a while ago, right? It's very, very difficult to go out there and find a fair price point for someone coming off a 3-touchdown performance. I mean, on prime time. We haven't had the Thanksgiving game yet, and he's already tied his career high in touchdowns. RJ says, how do we feel about CMC and Elijah Mitchell's split rest of season? I think if you're a Christian McCaffrey owner in a non-PPR format, you should be very worried. If you're a Christian McCaffrey owner in a full PPR league, the usage in the receiving game will be just fine enough where you're okay. Now, what is going to be interesting is if you're ever going to get to start Elijah Mitchell, I would say probably not. I think Elijah Mitchell is just like a premium handcuff running back that has a small role, similar like A.J. Dillon. I think like CMC and Elijah Mitchell are just a much better version of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Now, ER says Kittle for Dalton Schultz, Travis Etienne. Hell yes. Running backs are Jacobs, JT, White. We have solid receivers. I mean, I'm not a Schultz guy. Kittle's my most drafted tight end in best ball, but We can get Travis Etienne for him? Hell yeah. Fruit Punch says, in a dynasty format, should we trade Aaron Jones for Hunt, Lawrence in a second? Super flex, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. One quarterback. It's going to be up to you. Maybe if you're a rebuilder in a one quarterback league, super flex, go get Lawrence. Eddie says, should I trade Kamara and Drake for Austin Eckler? Yes. Kenyon Drake London, regardless of whoever it is, has no value. We're sending Kamara for Austin Eckler, who up until this point, I believe the running back won in fantasy. Let's make the deal. Let's make the deal. Patrick says, should I be worried about Cousins after yesterday? Yes. My backups are Matt Ryan, Kenny Pickett, Taylor Heineke in my 2-quarterback league. My other quarterback's Mariota, who's been solid. So there are a couple of different issues with Kirk Cousins. One, he doesn't run the ball at all. When he has no rushing upside at all, you'll be in a little bit of a difficult situation there. And on top of this, if Kirk Cousins plays at any time other than 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, the man turns into a pumpkin. Now, what you should be very worried about is, who has the primetime game Thursday night? He's playing Thursday night on Thanksgiving with everybody watching. Kirk Cousins. And you can't sell him. After he goes out there and loses 3-40, it's going to be a little too late. But I think you should be worried if it's a 4-point passing touchdown league. Now, Cody coming out with a massive dono. Thank you. Says 18 PPR format, 7-4. We have Kyler, Mixon, Etienne, Walker, White, Montgomery, Tyreek, Hopkins, Hollywood, Andrews, Christian Watson. Do you prefer CMC or Saquon for DeAndre Hopkins? Oh, I trade away DeAndre Hopkins for Saquon Barkley right now. And any other packages for someone like Devontae Adams, going to pick up Deshaun Watson off the waiver wire for Kyler Murray. I like that move. And I really like the trade. If we can go trade for someone like Devontae Adams, if we could go ahead and maybe make a move of Hollywood Brown, Christian Watson, and Rachaad White or a David Montgomery or just another one of those mid-tier running backs and go get Devontae Adams, let's do it. And yeah, I think in an 8-team league in particular as well, you got to trade someone like DeAndre Hopkins for Saquon Barkley. Alexander says, someone dropped Goddard in Dynasty, picked him up, and dropped DeMarcus Robinson. I'm assuming it's a new Dynasty league, my friend. That is crazy. Congrats. Getting Dallas Goedert for free in Dynasty is laughable. The man was drafted in 2018. Keller says, traded Pickens and Kmet for Pollard and Kittle. So we would rather have Pollard over Pickens. I'd rather have Kittle over Kmet. How the hell did he get that done? And Lamb for James Conner. That's a fair deal, depending on your team. We now have Tua, Eckler, Connor, Pollard, Evans, Waddle, Amon-Ra, Kittle, Mike Williams, Hollywood, Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins. Am I set? Yes, I think you're set. I think that second deal is fair. I understand why you're willing to trade away CeeDee Lamb, though, if we have Waddle, Amon-Ra, Mike Williams, and Hollywood. Now, Lexi coming out and says, 12-team full PPR double flex league. We have Tua, Barkley, Swift, Drake. And then at receiver, we have Jamar, Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Travis Kelce at tight end. And then on the bench, Gallup, Alec Pierce, Matt Collins. Any ideas for the playoffs? If your trade deadline's not passed, I would still see if we could sell DJ Moore for something. Maybe it's a little too late. We had him as sell high guy over the past few weeks. I know that when we get that absolute dud against the Baltimore Ravens, it'll be a little bit more difficult. It's just such a bad offense. And I liked him coming into the season thinking the Panthers could possibly be a little better, and we were just flat out wrong. Outside of that, not really. The only other ideas I would have is I can promise you're going to have someone better on the waiver wire than Alec Pierce. It's weird that you have Matt Ryan really liking Paris Campbell at this point. Drop Alec Pierce. Go try to get someone else. Kevin says Greg Dulcich or Logan Thomas. For the time being, when you have no Jerry Jeudy, I think you go Dulcich. Long term, maybe if Jerry Jeudy comes back, then you pivot to Thomas. Radiant says Keenan Lockett, Devonta Smith. Which one to trade? Pick one. If you can get the same value for all these guys, I'd probably trade away Devonta Smith, right? If you can get the same value for all of them. Now, All-Star Days says, I traded Sanders away with Barkley, Harris, and Ramondre on the roster. The first-round pick I got for Kupp is currently going to be second overall. Okay, so if you got back the 102 for Cooper Kupp, In Dynasty, I like it. That's going to be Bijan Robinson. That's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. You'll be in a phenomenal spot. Now, Caesar says trade Godwin for Pittman, Pickens, and Isaiah Pacheco. Only if Pickens and Pacheco would project to be in your starting lineup. If it's like a shallow redraft league where Pickens and Pacheco are nice names, but they're going to be the two worst guys on your bench, if it's going to be a 10-team league with only one flex spot, then probably not. So it's going to depend on your team here a bit. Now, Bill says drop Dulcich for Tyler Higbee's off a waiver. Tyler Higbee off waiver. We have Sutton. Yes, I think with Tyler Higbee, he's third in the NFL in targets right now at the tight end position, only behind Kelsey and Andrews. Go pick him up. Now, Chavi says Waddle and Brown for Stephon Diggs. Ooh. Other receivers are Debo, Olave, Godwin. We also have Kamara, Etienne, White. Should I try to trade Kamara? We have Kelsey as well. Okay. So we have a lot of wide receiver depth. So I understand why we want to make this 2-for-1 deal. You are overpaying, though. I don't think we can make this trade in good faith. I think if we were going to do something, maybe you take a wide receiver like Deebo Samuel coming off a great primetime performance and package him with Rachaad White and then go get that stud level running back in return that way. If you're really wanting to make a move where I think you can afford to sell some of this wide receiver depth, let's do it. And don't go sell Alvin Kamara unless you can get something real nice. People are everybody here in the live chats asking if they should sell Kamara. Now, Sonny coming out again. Thank you, my friend. Let me go ahead and make you a moderator on the channel. I have no idea how you're not a moderator. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to, if you're a moderator. But if you do see someone spamming the chat over and over again with the same question, you can feel free to hit put user in timeout. But like I said, you don't have to do anything. Now, it says a follow-up on the Chubb deal. Format is a 12-team super flex. Team is Hurts, Trevor Lawrence. Running backs are Pollard, Jeff Wilson. The Browns duo. Wide receivers are Higgins, St. Brown, Juju, Myers, Tony. Only 2 wide receivers to start, 3 flexes. Okay, so we can start 5 players. Okay. Tight ends, Goddard, Hockenson. Any moves to make deadlines week 14 since we started late? Okay, so because it's super flex, going back to this trade previously, actually, no, I'm sorry. We mixed up the deals. Okay, so this is the deal where we ended up giving away the wide receiver depth pieces, right? Yeah, we gave up Slayton, Jawan Johnson. Like, who cares? So going back to this, we're going to be able to start Hurts, Lawrence at quarterback. Running back, we're starting Chubb and Jeff Wilson / Pollard. Up to you. Receiver, we're starting Higgins, St. Brown, Juju, Jacoby. And then we need one more guy for the flex. So we're going to go Pollard. Tight end, we're going to go Hockenson. So we have a very well-balanced roster. Something I would look to do, if possible, if we could potentially sell off Juju Smith-Schuster and another piece and get Christian Kirk. Like, if this is a dynasty format, we go sell like Juju and Jacoby Myers and go get Christian Kirk to stack with Lawrence in the long term. If this is a redraft format, if we can sell Goddard and Juju, telling an owner, hell, Goddard may be back by the time we get to the fantasy football playoffs, and get Christian Kirk in return to stack with Trevor Lawrence that way, I would like that as well. But great team, my friend, and congrats on the Chubb deal. I don't think you have to make a move. I'm just grasping at straws trying to come up with something. Well, Patrick says, do I ride it out with Cousins on primetime, or do we start Matt Ryan, Kenny Pickett, Taylor Heineke? Not the greatest options. And who to start between Myers, Lazard, Ayuk? Sorry about 21 questions tonight. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you for hanging out with us every night, my man. And if we're looking at the wide receiver question, very difficult to go through and plan on starting Allen Lazard. Playing on Sunday night, we don't know the availability of everybody in Green Bay. You don't know if you are going to be in a position where Romeo Doubs is back in. So I would probably just go ahead and play Ayuk. Maybe I'm a little bit suffering from recency bias based on what we just saw. I think I'm fine taking Ayuk here. The offense looks electric. Going up against the Saints, it's not the best matchup, but it is what it is. And then with Kirk Cousins, I'm kind of joking when we talk about how bad he is on primetime, how he turns into a pumpkin, how you can never start him on primetime. If it's Kirk Cousins or Kenny Pickett, it doesn't really matter. He does have to be in your starting lineup. I do think we have to lower our expectations in general. I mean, Cousins still has been fine this year. Okay. Now, Sub says Romeo Doubs isn't playing in week 12. I saw a report late last week saying that he may. Let me pull this up. Okay, so he said, LaFleur said probably not, but it's getting closer. Apparently he's ahead of where he was supposed to be with his rehab process. Like, there is an outside chance that Romeo Doubs plays on Sunday. Now, Johnny says, do I trade Etienne and Gabe Davis and Jamar Chase for Diggs, Metcalf, and Zeke? So massive downgrade from Etienne to Zeke. Slight, tiny upgrade from Gabe Davis to Metcalf. Clear upgrade from Jamar Chase to Stephon Diggs. We have Lamar, Henry, Najee, Andrews, Lamb, Godwin. We're 7-4. Full PPR format. I'm a massive Travis Etienne fanboy. So I personally probably take Travis Etienne here, but I think the majority of people in fantasy football would take the Stephon Diggs side. I'm a big Etienne fanboy, so I'm going to go Etienne. I think most others would go Diggs. Brandon says, we have Allen and Fields, and the best offer I got was A.J. Brown and Mostert for Josh Allen. We just lost Cooper Kupp. Also, Isaiah Pacheco, White, or Kareem Hunt. If this was the best offer you got and you were desperate for a receiver because we lost Kupp, I would be okay with this deal if Justin Fields was fully healthy. But Justin Fields dealing with the shoulder injury now. You don't know if that's going to be the case. You don't know if Justin Fields is going to be missing time. So you actually probably can't make this trade, my friend. Maybe if we get confirmation in 2 days that Justin Fields will be fine, then yes, we pull the trigger. But it'd be very difficult to pull the trigger and then Justin Fields misses a few weeks because the Chicago Bears aren't playing for anything. And then between Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, I think at this point, you have to go Isaiah Pacheco, right? I think Hunt would have a higher ceiling if Nick Chubb were to go down, but if Nick Chubb's healthy, I think you probably got to go Pacheco. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe Daniel says, in a 10-team half PPR format, 7-4 starters are Burrow, Mixon, Henry, Chase, Tyreek, Schultz, Godwin. And then on the bench, we have Pickens, Rashad White, Rondale Moore, Isaiah Pacheco, Christian Watson, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Have 2 spots, pick 2 of Dylan, Pirine, Madison, Deshaun Watson, Jameson Williams, and Dontrell Hilliard for the Derrick Henry handcuff. First off, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. I mean, if we were to pick up Deshaun Watson, the question is, would he realistically ever hit our starting lineup? I mean, when you have Burrow has been phenomenal, especially if you are adding in Jamar Chase. I think that you would most likely start Joe Burrow over Deshaun Watson in the fantasy football playoffs. But we don't know. We've seen Deshaun Watson be the quarterback 1 overall in fantasy before. We've never seen that with Joe Burrow. It is in the range of outcomes for Watson to come in and Watson to be very, very good. I know people don't want to hear it, but it's a possibility. I mean, I think that you honestly have to go through, pick up Samaje Perine so we can play him this week if you have no Joe Mixon. I think for the other spot, we're probably going to go ahead and debating between Deshaun Watson and A.J. Dillon. We probably go A.J. Dillon. Not because, A.J. Dillon's going to be able to come out here and ever get into your starting lineup outside of an Aaron Jones injury. But if Aaron Jones were to go down, A.J. Dillon is one of the very few players from the waiver wire that would actually have it in the range of outcomes where he could win you your league. So let's pick up Pirine because we may have to start him this week. And then let's pick up A.J. Dillon. And then after this week, we can drop Samaje Perine and go get one of Deshaun Watson, Jameson Williams, Alexander Madison, or Dontrell Hilliard, whoever's left out there sitting, and we would pick them up in the order we just listed them. That's how I'd rank them. Now, Keon coming out says 7-4. Congrats. Love the channel, my guy. 10-team BBR format. Any moves to make? We have Tua, Walker, JT, Adams, Tyreek, Keenan, Chase, Dolchich, Pickens, Pacheco, and White. In a full BBR format, I think Isaiah Pacheco could potentially be a sell-high candidate. I mean, in a non-PBR format, I think you should be very excited about Pacheco. You should be very excited about the talent, the role that he has. But in that full BBR league where we know he's not going to catch the ball, I mean, I would at least be interested to see what we could get. So if we could possibly go ahead and maybe package together Isaiah Pacheco and Greg Dulcich and go get a tight end that you really like. I mean, Pat Freiermuth looked very good this past week. Pat Freiermuth has been very good so far this season. I think that could be a pickup that makes some sense. Or just another tight end similar to that in that range. Because I would rather avoid starting Greg Dulcich rest of season. And I don't necessarily know if we're ever going to be starting Isaiah Pacheco in a full PPR league when we have these other running backs on the roster. Now, Leonard Lifter says, would you play Philly's defense versus Green Bay? Philly's defense right now is favored by 7 points over the Packers. So obviously Rodgers doesn't turn the ball over too much. So you don't love it for that reason, but I mean, they're fine. I don't want to drop the Phillies defense just because they have a toughish matchup against Green Bay. It's not like Green Bay is how they've been in years past. Now, Return to Reason, always happy to see you out, says 7-4 in an 8-team non-PBR format. Solid in second place, but we probably just lost Fields. Should we stream Lawrence against Buffalo, Geno versus Vegas, or someone else? 8-team league, a lot of waiver wire options. What are some ideas? Okay, so let me go ahead. Let me pull up the spreads that we have with these games. I mean, I think that's the kind of the easiest way that we can have an idea of what we're going to do. It's just the easiest way to view things. Okay, so if we're going through looking at teams and spots that we would like. Oh, I forgot Chicago's not playing on Thanksgiving. Chicago's playing Sunday. Real weird that we're getting the Vikings and Pats playing on Thanksgiving, not the Bears. Heineke could be okay going up against Atlanta if you were real desperate. Geno's a 3.5-point favorite over Vegas. I think Geno's probably going to be the best waiver wire quarterback this week. Daniel Jones had been a name that we've been saying previously. Like last week, Daniel Jones was a streaming option for us because he could run the ball somewhat, and he had a very good matchup against the Detroit Lions. But this week, going up against the Cowboys, you want no part of that defense. And on top of it, I mean, just losing everybody as a pass catcher there. I think you have to go with Geno Smith. Very good matchup against the Raiders. Now, official Nolan LaValle says, time to be worried about A.J. Brown. 8.7 points the last 2 weeks. Honestly, no. I mean, with A.J. Brown, I know you've had some down performances, but if we take a step back, if you look at the targets that he had this past week, I mean, the man is heavily getting involved as a pass catcher. I mean, he has such a high target share in this offense. When you have no Dallas Goedert here, everything's going to be funneled between those two players. We've seen A.J. Brown be volatile all season now. What we've seen with A.J. Brown is in individual weeks, he's going to have a ceiling higher than anybody else in fantasy football. So I wouldn't panic with Brown. I think you're still going to be fine. Okay. Now, Michael says in a 12-team, 3-keeper PPR double flex league, we have Tua, Dalvin, Jacobs, Adams, Evans, Kittle, Olave, Ramondre. And then on the bench, Hollywood, Brandon Cooks, Ezekiel Elliott, David Njoku. Too many Indians, not enough Chiefs. Who would you try to package for the playoffs? 8-3. Literally just was listening to an audiobook that said that. Oh my gosh. That is spooky, my friend. But thank you for supporting the channel, of course. And going through, looking at something for the playoffs. Maybe, just maybe, if we can move Kittle and a bench piece, if we could maybe move like Kittle and Njoku and go ahead and get Mark Andrews, I think that could be an interesting spot. Yes, you've had Kittle, dominating Andrews specifically this week. Andrews has not been a very productive tight end in a long, long time. I still think that Mark Andrews is going to be completely fine. I think that Mark Andrews is in a very good spot if we look at the Rashad Bateman injury with just the guaranteed targets that he's going to have for the Baltimore Ravens here. Trying to come up with another move we can make. The reason I'm not wanting to sell someone like Hollywood Brown is because you have to start 2 flexes. So I like having the additional depth wide receiver, especially if Rondale Moore is going down. I don't want to be selling a receiver in this league. If we could go we can't trade for Waddle at this point. It's just way too late. I think the number one thing we'll try to do with this team is leverage the points we just got with George Kittle on prime time, where your league mates probably just saw it, and go through and make that trade to get Andrews. Now, Leonard Lifter out again. He's been out here pretty much every live stream over the past 3 weeks. Thank you. This is in a 14-team PPR league. We have Mahomes, Najee, Jeff Wilson Jr., Tyreek Hill, Diggs, Cade Otton. We're just streaming the tight end position. And Philly's defense. Can this team win a championship, or should we try to find a tight ends? You're 8-3, obviously. You're in a very good spot. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. Literally, there are only receivers in the top tier in this week's ranking. You have the number 1 and number 2 overall wide receiver in a 14-team league. You have Najee Harris, in my opinion, taking a massive step up with the Jalen Warren injury and a better schedule. You have Jeff Wilson Jr. looking like the starting running back in Miami. You have Mahomes, possibly the quarterback 1 overall. You have a great defense. Obviously, you're going to have to continue to go through and stream the tight end position. You're going to have to hope that you can find someone that's viable every week. I don't know if Cade Otton's that guy. Obviously, you have to lower your expectations at a 14-team league. I don't think you need to trade for a tight end. I think you can get there, and your record shows that. But we just need to keep on grinding that waiver wire for tight end options and hope that we find someone. Peter out here, as always, says drop Judy or Brian Robinson to pick up Samaje Perine, or should we hold? We have Mixon, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Jamal Williams, Waddle, Ayuk, Mike Williams, Tyler Boyd, AJ Dillon, Kmet, Njoku, Aaron Rodgers, 6-5. Thank you. No, thank you, my friend. And we have to ask ourselves, if we were to pick up Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon were to miss, do we start him at running back this week? If so, then yeah, let's get him. If so, let's drop Jerry Jeudy and go get him. But we have Aaron Jones or Ramondre Stevenson. I would say that even if Joe Mixon's going to miss, you're not going to start Samaje Perine regardless, and it would just be a 1-week pickup. So you know what? No, I would rather keep Jerry Jeudy. I'd rather keep Brian Robinson for the long term that they're going to have, because Samaje Perine's just that short-term pickup that isn't even going to get in your lineup. Panther says, Kittle, Christian Watson, Isaiah Pacheco for Mark Andrews in the 12-team league. If Isaiah Pacheco and Christian Watson are on your bench, yes, I'll do this. If it's a 1-flex league where both these guys are on your bench, I will. Now, Awarded Aqua says, in a 12-team league, we're 7-3. We have Tua, Connor, Najee, Gordon, Pickens, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Travis Kelce. I started Jimmy Garoppolo this week and scored 193. Any suggestions? I don't really have any suggestions. You have freaking Kelce. You have St. Brown. You have Najee Harris taking this step up. You have James Conner taking this step up. You're already 7-3. The only suggestion I have is, let's try not to get cute with it. I know that we're going to start Jimmy Garoppolo this week, and he is going to be unbelievable, blah, blah, blah. However, you're in a spot where Tua Tagovailoa has had this the entire season. Let's try not to get cute. Jimmy Garoppolo looked great, but we're still playing Tua over Jimmy G. Now, Garrett says, in a 10-team PPR Dynasty, and I know you just play Jimmy G for the a bye week for Tua. I'm just saying going forward. Now, Garrett says 10-team PBR Dynasty. Starters are Hurts, Eckler, Fournette, Higgins, Debo, Pittman, Mooney. We just lost Kupp, Everett. We lost Goddard. And then on the bench, we have Fields, Rashad White, Akers, Judy, currently in second at 7-4. What are your thoughts? A couple thoughts. I mean, we've said this for God knows how long. Yes, Justin Fields is an elite fantasy quarterback, but there's no passing volume at all in this offense in Chicago. So someone like Darnell Mooney, he has the name appeal, he has the name value, but he's not actually going to be scoring fantasy points. So in my opinion, that's always a clear sell high player. That's always someone that we should be looking to move off of. If we could, in a dynasty format where we're 7-4 in second place, what we may end up having to do is we may end up having to trade away Kupp. It sucks, but looking at that guy right there in Davante Adams, if Davante Adams is sitting on a rebuilding roster and you can go through and send away Cooper Kupp, who maybe has more value next year to get Davante Adams in this season to make sure you win the league, we probably have to. We probably have to. Now, Goomba coming out says 7-4 in a 12-team league, looking to trade Henry and Lamar. Team is Connor, Pacheco, Cooks, McLaurin, Knox, Kirk Cousins, Raheem Mostert, Mike Evans, Hollywood, Waddle, and Alexander Madison. Okay, so if we're looking to trade away Derrick Henry, I would have a massive question for you, and that is, why the hell would you do such a thing? My friend, you have Derrick Henry going up against the Chargers, going up against the Texans in the fantasy football playoffs. Derrick Henry arguably has the best fantasy football playoff schedule among any running back in fantasy football. So I would say, please, for the love of God, do not trade away Derrick Henry. Do not do that. I don't see why we would. Now, if we're looking to trade away Lamar Jackson, if you really wanted a wide receiver, I wouldn't even do this. And I know this isn't the answer you're looking for. I'm not trying to give you the answer you're looking for. I'm trying to give you an answer that I think is actually helpful. A ton of people are off Lamar right now, and it makes a decent amount of sense. Like, I do understand why. But at the end of the day, the rushing upside's still there. He's still scoring fantasy points, even if it's ugly from a real life perspective. I would hold on to Lamar and Derrick Henry. I'd hold on to both. Now, Tate Kim says, give away Isaiah Pacheco and Keenan for Christian Kirk. If you were not starting Isaiah Pacheco, if he's like your running back 5 and it's a full PPR format, I'm fine with it. Now, but that's only if Pacheco has no value for you. Now, Bill says, which 2 wide receivers this week? We have Olave, Sutton, Paris Campbell, Christian Watson, Garrett Wilson, and Hollywood if he plays. We can also get Donovan Peoples-Jones and Joshua Palmer off the waiver wire. Please go through and drop Paris Campbell, who I know has been pretty damn good with Matt Ryan under center, but drop Paris Campbell, pick up Donovan Peoples-Jones. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been better, and we're about to get Deshaun Watson under center for the Cleveland Browns. And then if we're submitting this starting lineup, we're going to go with Olave at wide receiver 1. And then at wide receiver 2, we are going to be going with Cortland Sutton if Jerry Jeudy misses. However, if Jerry Jeudy were to play and Hollywood Brown were to play with Rondale Moore missing, then we'll go Hollywood Brown at wide receiver 2. So it is very much dependent on the health of those players. But I think that we can lock in Olave at least right now for wide receiver 1. Okay. Now, Brandon says, we need a running back. Eckler's an obvious start. Receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown's the obvious start. And we need one flex. Rashad White, Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, Hollywood, Treylon Burks, Darius Slayton, Garrett Wilson. I think you can start Hollywood here easily if he were to play. If Hollywood Brown were to miss, I think we're going to go Garrett Wilson in a better matchup this week. And then for the flex spot, I think we're probably going to go over and go with one of those wide receivers if they are both to play. But if Hollywood were to miss and we have Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 2, then at the flex, probably going to go Rashad White. But it does look like we have to lower our expectations just a little with White, with Leonard Fournette most likely playing. Now, official Nolan the Valley says PPR, point per completion, and point per carry. Top sleeper at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end for week 12. Okay, my friend, you're asking a lot here. You are asking a lot. We'll go through. I'll give you a sleeper quarterback in a point per completion league where we're only looking at passing volume. Tom Brady. If we can classify him as a sleeper. Now, running back, if we were going to be looking at someone in a point per carry league that's going to be able to rack up carries, Jeff Wilson Jr. should crush the Houston Texans. Wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, if we have no Jerry Jeudy. Tight end, Tyler Higbee, when the man just getting flooded with targets. Okay. Now, Aiden coming out. I'm so sorry if we missed your question, Aiden. Let me go ahead. And this is in a 10-team full PPR format. We have Dak, Etienne, Swift, Adams, Higgins, Frymuth, and then on the bench, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Pickens, Jeff Wilson Jr., Rashad White, Christian Watson. Any suggestions? Thanks. Appreciate it. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. I mean, if we were to go ahead and do something, if we have Donovan Peoples-Jones and George Pickens down there on the bench, we already have so much wide receiver depth that Christian Watson is expendable. And as we've been discussing, I think with Christian Watson, this is going to be a wide receiver that we should be looking to sell off of when we have Allen Lazard with 11 targets this past week. Now, keep in mind, I'm a Christian Watson fanboy. We had him as a must-start wide receiver this past week. But if you have 11 targets going over in the direction of Allen Lazard and the possibility that Romeo Doubs is coming back soon, if we could go through and sell Christian Watson with like Dak Prescott and go get a quarterback with some real fantasy upside rest of season, I would really like that. But Pitcher Rendon, longtime member of the flock, says Higgins, A.J. Brown, Waddle, Aaron Jones. We got to bench one. Are you kidding me, my man? Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. I guess we have to bench Higgins if Jamar Chase plays. If Jamar Chase misses, then we probably go ahead and bench Aaron Jones. I know Brown hasn't been good as of late, but I still am fully confident with A.J. Brown. Now, Slobby says, trade Lamb for Kittle and Jamal Williams. We have Mahomes, Kamara, Zeke, Keenan, Kirk, Kmet, Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Foreman in a 2-flex, 8-team league. Jamal would actually probably start for us here. Jamal Williams would start for us, but God, this is a bad team. I'd say no. We're going to keep CeeDee Lamb here. We're going to keep CeeDee Lamb and then go through and look to package like Cole Kmet as well as Brandon Ayuk together and go get a tight end upgrade that way. Jackson says, would you trade Connor and Olave for Jonathan Taylor? Yes, sir, I would. Let's go ahead and let's pull the trigger. I do like James Conner, though, who is being used as that 3-down running back in Arizona. I mean, the workload's there. It's just the offense is so damn bad. Now, no one says in a 10-team PPR format, we have Allen, Jacobs, Jones, Pollard, Walker, Diggs, Hopkins, Terry, Ayuk, Devonta Smith, Pat Frymuth. Should we trade DeAndre Hopkins for Amon-Ra and Kenneth Walker for Nick Chubb for the playoffs? Okay. I understand why you're wanting to go ahead and trade away DeAndre Hopkins for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, you're getting Hollywood Brown back in here. Maybe that means that you should be a little bit worried about what you are going to have when it comes to, I mean, the target share for DeAndre Hopkins. In reality, you're fine. Like, you can maybe make the same argument with Amon-Ra St. Brown, where you are going to be coming back and getting what? You're going to get Amon-Ra St. I mean, you're going to get Jameson Williams to compete. So I'd still have Hopkins over Amon-Ra St. Brown for the playoffs. And then Walker for Nick Chubb. I would say yes. If you look at the video that we made regarding the playoff schedules, Kenneth Walker doesn't have a great one. Let's go ahead and let's pull the trigger there. Now, Lewis says, now that Keenan's back, would you consider playing him over Jalen Waddle? You gotta be trolling me, my man, right? Have to be trolling me. No, hell no. You are not playing Keenan Allen over Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is a borderline top 5 wide receiver so far this season. We're not doing it. People in the chat saying Justin Fields dislocated his shoulder. I mean, I do not think that's the case. Let me go ahead and let me pull this up. I know he has a shoulder injury, but last I saw, I thought they updated and said that it was not. The Bears coach described Justin Fields as day-to-day, but also did not rule out a season-ending situation as worst case. Plenty of outcomes. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I would say do not plan on starting Justin Fields on Thursday. What's nice is it's his left shoulder, not his right shoulder. The thing is also, if you're the Chicago Bears, why the hell would you ever throw him back out there? Like, is it literally just to sell tickets? Like, okay, we have to have something to watch. I mean, the rest of our roster is absolute garbage. We need someone to be willing to turn their TV on to watch a Chicago Bears game. Let's throw Justin Fields out there so we can at least all watch something. Like, is that the only reason why they would put him out there? For entertainment purposes? Like, they're not playing for anything. Now, Two Boys says, 8-3 in first. Would you trade Diggs for Devontae Adams? No. I mean, I like Devontae Adams, but Stephon Diggs still wide receiver 1, my friend. And congrats on being 8-3. Tim says, rest of season, who would you pick up / drop? We have JT, Swift, Pierce, and Kenneth Walker. Jeff Wilson, Jamal Williams, and Devin Singletary are available. What the heck? Full PPR start too. Obviously, I'd love to pick up Jeff Wilson. I'd love to pick up Jamal Williams. But if you're telling me we would have to drop one of DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Damian Pierce, Kenneth Walker, it's going to be difficult for me to do it. I think possibly going through and dropping DeAndre Swift for Jeff Wilson in this very shallow format makes sense. Can everybody please spam the chat? Who would you rather have on your roster rest of season? Not just this week, rest of season. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have DeAndre Swift, Jeff Wilson, Jamal Williams? Please spam the chat. We have over 800 people out here. I mean, super shallow format, I guess. But let me know who you're wanting rest of season. We have Wilson, Swift, Williams, Wilson, Swift, Williams, Swift, Wilson. Sounds like a lot of people are saying Jeff Wilson. I mean, I'll say he's probably going to be very exciting this week against Houston Texans for sure. Now, Wally says, who are you playing, Swift or Christian Watson? DeAndre Swift, not startable until we see otherwise. You got to play Christian Watson. DeAndre Swift, not startable until we see otherwise. Jacob says, a shallow 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, double flex, PPR best ball league. We have Mahomes, Komet, Frymuth, Olave, Bills defense, or Herbert, Etienne, Andrews, Ayuk, Allen, and Dak are the other quarterbacks. Okay, so going from Mahomes to Herbert, clear downgrade. However, if you have Allen and Dak in a best ball format, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. Going from Pat Frymuth to Mark Andrews, massive upgrade. Komet, who cares? Going from Olave to Etienne, massive upgrade. Getting Ayuk is going to be a big deal in a league that's best ball, where you can start up to 5 wide receivers every week. Specifically because it is best ball. Like, please, if you do not play in a best ball league, completely ignore this advice. Completely ignore what I'm about to say with this trade. But specifically because it is best ball, I am always going to be willing to go with the side where you are getting that extra starter. Where you are getting that extra guy that we can go through and see a random spike week from any given week, like Brandon Ayuk. I mean, depth is going to be more important in best ball than it's going to be in traditional redraft because, hell, we don't have to submit our starting lineups. We can take that volatility and run with it. So, yeah, I like this, my friend. I do. Now, our next wish coming out from Youssef says, in a 10-team app PBR format, Fields, Saquon, CMC, Jamal, Rashad White, Pacheco, Godwin, Lockett, Gabe Davis, Pittman, Higbee. Traded Jamal and Godwin for Waddle. What do you think? I really like it. Keep in mind, I am the #1 Waddle fanboy. And for whatever reason, I am convincing myself that DeAndre Swift can expand his role rest of season. We haven't seen anything that should indicate this. I don't know why I do believe that this would happen, but I mean, I still haven't given up full hope that DeAndre Swift will eventually take a step forward and eventually Jamal Williams will no longer be someone that you're excited about putting in your lineup. But we've been saying that for a while, and we've been wrong for a very long time here, my friend. Okay, so now our next one coming out from, I believe, Dat Boy says, hey, Mason traded Drake London for Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, even with the Kyle Pitts injury, I think you have to like him. Marcus Mariota just doesn't throw the ball. Enrique says, did I F up? We traded Debo for Godwin earlier in the week. I mean, unless you think that you were going to continuously get 5 touchdowns from the 49ers, then I don't think so. I know everybody here prefers Deebo Samuel over Godwin. I still may go with Godwin if I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. If I'm going to be honest with you, my friend, I may still go Godwin. Now, Robert says 12-team PPR format. Hurts, Brown, Evans, Lamb, CMC, Jacobs, Schultz. And then on the bench, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, A.J. Dillon, Harris, Hubbard. Currently 8-3. Any suggestions? In terms of trades, not necessarily. I don't see any clear sell high names. One thing I would say is let's drop Chuba Hubbard here. Literally no reason to be rostering him if he's the backup running back, one of the worst offenses in the NFL. A lot would have to happen for us to go through and start him. First, you would need a Deontay Foreman injury. Then after that, you would need a complete transformation of the Carolina Panthers offense. Yeah, so just drop Chuba Hubbard. I promise you can find someone better off the waiver wire. Now, Garrett says 7-4, third place in a 10-team Dynasty League. We have Hurts, Chubb, Sanders, Brown, Debo, Kittle, Najee, Godwin. And then on the bench, Henderson, Schultz, Michael Carter, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Deontay Johnson. What are your thoughts? I really like the team. I mean, this is live or die by the Philadelphia Eagles here. I mean, from a dynasty perspective, I don't really see too many sell-high candidates. I think the injury to Jaylen Warren is honestly going to help out this team big time. I think Najee Harris is now going to be that high-end RB2. They can be very excited about that you have in your flex spot. Love it, my friend. And no one says Devonta Smith and Tony Pollard for Chris Olave is this too much. Yes, it's too much. You can get way more value for, Tony Pollard and Smith right now. Wally says, would you trade Christian Watson for Isaiah Pacheco? Non-PPR format, if you're not starting Christian Watson this week and long-term, we are going to get Romeo Doubs in. Yes. Full PPR league, maybe depend on your roster. Probably not. Michael says 12-team at PPR league. We got Jonathan Taylor with the week 14 bye. Walker, Ramadre, Higgins, DK, Gabe Davis. Trade T and Ramadre for Jefferson and Hawkinson. We have no startable running backs, and we lost Pitts. Well, Pitts wasn't doing much for you anyway. I would say you lost Kyle Pitts week 1. And trust me, I'm right there with you on a lot of my teams. I would say we have to. Hawkinson to fill in for Pitts. I mean, that is going to be exciting. You're getting a massive upgrade from T. Higgins to Justin Jefferson, especially with Chase coming back in. We have to do it. Go get Jefferson. Go get Hawkinson. I mean, it's a clear just buy low moment, I guess, for the Minnesota Vikings who lost 30-40. 3-40 last week. Now, Stode says, is there a top 15 wide receiver we can trade for? We have DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Ayuk to trade. Or do I keep what I have? Should I try for Higgins or Kirk? I mean, if you could trade DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson for Christian Kirk, I would do it. If we could trade, say, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson for T. Higgins, I'd do it. I'd trade for either player. I think that, honestly, Jameson Williams being back at practice may open up the window to buy low on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, if you could trade DJ Moore and Brandon Ayuk and go get Amon-Ra St. Brown, that would also be another trade that I'd really like to make, my friend. But I think that should be it for the live stream. Of course, thank you so much, everybody, for checking us out. If you have not done so already, subscribe to the channel. I've not missed a day of live streaming in like 150 days in a row. And also, hit that like button. It actually does help us out a ton because I'm going to leave this up as a video afterwards. Just see if people like watching these. It is what it is. But thank you again. I truly do appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. And I hope we get to see you in the live stream tomorrow night.